Do I not destroy my enemies when I make them my friends? Abraham Lincoln. America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves. Abraham Lincoln. My concern is not whether God is on our side, my greatest concern is to be on God's side, for God is always right. Abraham Lincoln. I'm a success today because I had a friend who believed in me and I didn't have the heart to let him down. Abraham Lincoln. Books serve to show a man that those original thoughts of his aren't very new after all. Abraham Lincoln. When I do good, I feel good. When I do bad, I feel bad. That's my religion. Abraham Lincoln. I can see how it might be possible for a man to look down upon the earth and be an atheist, but I cannot conceive how a man could look up into the heavens and say there is no God. Abraham Lincoln. Whenever I hear anyone arguing for slavery, I feel a strong impulse to see it tried on him personally. Abraham Lincoln. Those who look for the bad in people will surely find it. Abraham Lincoln. I can see how it might be possible for a man to look down upon the earth and be an atheist, but I cannot conceive how a man could look up into the heavens and say there is no God. Abraham Lincoln. I am not bound to win, but I am bound to be true. I am not bound to succeed, but I am bound to live up to what light I have. Abraham Lincoln. You can fool some of the people all of the time, and all of the people some of the time, but you cannot fool all of the people all of the time. Abraham Lincoln. I have been driven many times upon my knees by the overwhelming conviction that I had nowhere else to go. My own wisdom and that of all about me seemed insufficient for that day. Abraham Lincoln. Character is like a tree and reputation its shadow. The shadow is what we think it is, and the tree is the real thing. Abraham Lincoln. Always bear in mind that your own resolution to succeed is more important than any one thing. Abraham Lincoln. We are not enemies, but friends. We must not be enemies. Though passion may have strained, it must not break our bonds of affection. The mystic chords of memory will swell when again touched, as surely they will be, by the better angels of our nature. Abraham Lincoln. I have never had a feeling politically that did not spring from the sentiments embodied in the Declaration of Independence. Abraham Lincoln. Let us at all times remember that all American citizens are brothers of a common country, and should dwell together in the bonds of fraternal feeling. Abraham Lincoln. In law, it is a good policy to never plead what you need not, lest you oblige yourself to prove what you cannot. Abraham Lincoln. Let no young man choosing the law for a calling for a moment yield to the popular belief, resolve to be honest at all events, and if in your own judgment you cannot be an honest lawyer, resolve to be honest without being a lawyer. Abraham Lincoln. I believe it is an established maxim in morals that he who makes an assertion without knowing whether it is true or false, is guilty of falsehood, and the accidental truth of the assertion does not justify or excuse him. Abraham Lincoln. The world has never had a good definition of the word liberty, and the American people, just now, are much in want of one. We all declare for liberty, but in using the same word we do not all mean the same thing. Abraham Lincoln. 47 years ago our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty, and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Abraham Lincoln. In giving freedom to the slave, we assure freedom to the free honorable alike in what we give, and what we preserve. We shall nobly save, or meanly lose, the last best hope of earth. Abraham Lincoln. I am rather inclined to silence, and whether that be wise or not, it is at least more unusual nowadays, to find a man who can hold his tongue than to find one who cannot. I believe it is an established maxim in morals that he who makes an assertion without knowing whether it is true or false, is guilty of falsehood. No one who has sworn to support the Constitution can conscientiously vote for what he understands to be an unconstitutional measure, however expedient he may think it, but one may and ought to vote against a measure which he deems constitutional, if, at the same time, he deems it inexpedient. But no organic law can ever be framed with a provision specifically applicable to every question which may occur in practical administration. No foresight can anticipate, nor any document of reasonable length contain express provisions for all possible questions. Intelligence, patriotism, Christianity, and a firm reliance on Him who has never yet forsaken this favored land are still competent to adjust in the best way all our present difficulty. There may sometimes be ungenerous attempts to keep a young man down, and they will succeed too, if he allows his mind to be diverted from its true channel to brood over the attempted injury. I am rather inclined to silence, and whether that be wise or not, it is at least more unusual nowadays, to find a man who can hold his tongue than to find one who cannot. I have not permitted myself, gentlemen, to conclude that I am the best man in the country. A majority held in restraint by constitutional checks and limitations, and always changing easily with deliberate changes of popular opinions and sentiments, is the only true sovereign of a free people. Whoever rejects it does of necessity fly to anarchy or to despotism. But if destruction of the Union by one or by a part only of the states be lawfully possible, the Union is less perfect than before the Constitution, having lost the vital element of perpetuity. Unanimity is impossible. The rule of a minority, as a permanent arrangement, is wholly inadmissible, so that, rejecting the majority principle, anarchy or despotism in some form is all that is left. Neither let us be slandered from our duty by false accusations against us, nor frightened from it by menaces of destruction to the government, nor of dungeons to ourselves. I can say for one that I have no other so great as that of being truly esteemed of my fellow men, by rendering myself worthy of their esteem. No one who has sworn to support the Constitution can conscientiously vote for what he understands to be an unconstitutional measure, however expedient he may think it, but one may and ought to vote against a measure which he deems constitutional, if, at the same time, he deems it inexpedient. Acts of violence within any state or states against the authority of the United States are insurrectionary or revolutionary, according to circumstances. There needs to be no bloodshed or violence, and there shall be none unless it be forced upon the national authority. We shall lie down pleasantly dreaming that the people of Missouri are on the verge of making their state free, and we shall awake to the reality, instead, that the Supreme Court has made Illinois a slave state. Did we brave all then to falter now? Now, when that same enemy is wavering, dissevered and belligerent? The result is not doubtful. We shall not fail, if we stand firm, we shall not fail. The mystic cords of memory, stretching from every battlefield and patriot grave to every living heart and hearthstone all over this broad land, will yet swell the chorus of the Union, when again touched, as surely they will be, by the better angels of our nature.